Welcome to Exit Stage Left. I am your host, Niti, and we are broadcasting live from the Food Church here on North Carolina. We are a people at peace, and we have declared peace to nations all around the world. And this isn't a marketing or a promotional channel. We are shining a light on knowledge that's being hidden from you. And, we're here to talk about the truth, about your birthright and your inheritance. And if you guys have any questions, then please put them in all caps and only enter them once per show. Today, I am joined by Debra-Ann, facilitator of the Ombudsman Way, and Tammy Healy, the host of the American States Assemblies podcast and co-leader of the Outreach Think Tank. And so I want to welcome you, ladies, and welcome everyone who's here joining us today. I know that we've thrown a few different ideas around, but Tammy, I think we've nailed it on what we want to try to go over today. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we thought it would be a great idea to talk about what the true meaning of self-governance is. And, what does that look like? What does it feel like? There seems to be some misconceptions, especially with new people coming into the assemblies. And I just thought it would be a great opportunity for us to open up the conversation and, talk about what it is, what it isn't. And so, for me, and I'll just go ahead and get started, and you ladies can jump in. But for me, self-governance ultimately starts with ourselves first, right? It's that self-mastery. How are we showing up in the world? How are we being perceived? Are you willing to learn and grow? Are you willing to accept feedback from your peers? And and course correct. I know some people, I know Niti, you don't like that word course correct, but
I just don't like to make people feel that. I think when you say that, then it's more of an actual judgment, when actually it isn't really about. We're not really trying to judge people. I mean, this is a look, when you're playing a musical piece, then it is what the notes are on the paper. And so you have to harmonize with it, just like what we are talking about with the law. So this isn't our opinion. It isn't something to be debated. It is something that we're supposed to actually be able to see and experience and know. And so it's not a course correction. It's just, hey guys, we're harmonizing right here. This is the scale that we're on, and you're flat, or so, and that's it. But everybody can get there. It's not, something special that someone has to have some talent to, get to. Everyone can be there if they choose to. And they
yeah,
don't
and
even have to know how to read or write it. Like, we can read it for them. We can just,
Yeah,
demonstrate it.
just in keeping with that, I think of it as education, because the truth is there is so much to know. There's so many
Yeah.
podcasts, so many articles that Anna has written, and you start at the beginning, and if you don't realize that things change as the years have gone by and more information has been gathered, and so if you're not flexible with what you think you know, it makes it really hard, because the truth is we all have our way of interpreting what we read, and even if you've read it 5 times, you may have misunderstood or miscomprehended. Yeah, so course correcting is more being educated about maybe something that you're not aware of.
And that's
yeah,
hard too, because, and I'm sorry, I wanted to say that it's an expanding universe. And so we're expanding, and we're also relearning. And so it feels like the uh, maybe people feel like the rules are changing, but they're not really changing. It's just that we're expanding and more people are coming on board.
yeah, and you know what? Something comes to mind, when I think about course correction, and I love your explanations, both of yours. I love your explanations on what that looks like and what words you like to use to describe that. But I think of, do you remember seeing and maybe this is a poor analogy, but like the robots that are trying to find their way to the door, right? But it's like, nope, not there, they turn. Nope, not there, they turn. And they keep turning until, oh, they find that way forward, and then they move forward. And that to me is kind of like what I envision as far as like, when all of us are working at trying to get our assemblies up and standing. And there's really no manual, so to speak, that gives us the blueprint. I mean, we have something that's a guide, but that looks different for each of our state assemblies. And when we're all attempting to try to get something standing and working and operating, and it's not working, right? That is your opportunity to say, oh, well, this hasn't been working, right? Because if you continue to do the same thing over and over again and hoping to get a different result, that's the definition of insanity, right? So when you go and approach this and you find that it's not working, and perhaps other people are giving you feedback, and you choose not to listen, but you keep insisting on your way, that becomes problematic for us and problematic for our assemblies. And so self-governance, for me, it's having that open mind and learning that there's where I'm at in this moment in time with all the education that I have, is going to determine the decisions that I make. However, if I'm presented with new information and perhaps somebody else has had success in this way of doing things, and maybe, it would be in my best interest and in my assembly's best interest to try that way and say, hey, let's give this a whirl. This has worked for them. Let's see how it works for us. And constantly, and I think the theme that I'm trying to get at here is always taking that time to self-reflect. And how could I show up better? How could I be, we're in this world to be of service to others, right? And so how could I be of service to my assembly? How could I be of service to, my assembly member? How could I be of service? We're always thinking of better ways to be better wives, better moms, better sisters, better aunts. But also learning to love and accept yourself for who you are, right? I think that there's a difference where that self-mastery, where you're wanting to be a better woman or a better man, but you also love and accept yourself for who you are, because God made each and every one of us unique in our own special ways. And those are the things that we have to love and cherish and respect for ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so, and that's one of the things that I find really interesting. And I don't know how you ladies feel about this, but when people say, love others as you would love yourself, right? And that's really tough, because there's some people today in this world that don't love themselves, right? They don't love themselves enough. Perhaps they're abusing themselves, they're abusing their bodies, they're abusing, whatever it may be. And so that is not, in my, definition, that's not like the expectation, that I would want to come at. It's like, I think my terminology, or the way that I would like to perceive it, is I'm going to love others as God has loved me. My creator has loved me. And if he loves me and he accepts me, or she, whatever you want to call her, then I'm going to love and accept myself. And in turn, I'm going to love and accept my fellow men and women.
Well, the definition of self-governance, under like individual autonomy, is that, self-governance refers to the individual's capacity for self-control, self-command, and the ability to be independent or, like self-sufficient. And in order to do any of those things, we have to know that we were born worthy beyond belief. We have to know that we are important. And we have to know that we matter. And we can't expect, actually, all of that to come from someone else if we can't just be prepared to let everything go. Like, the thing that's interesting, I think, is that when you really start working on self-mastery, what you find is that everything that you face is just a reflection of the mirror. So if you and the reason is because the number one, universal law is mentalism. So what you are thinking, what you are what frequency you are like vibrating at is what you will attract, because it's all a magnetic universe. Okay. So people don't really want to actually believe this, because the false beliefs, the narratives that we've been raised with by the corporatocracy is that, we don't have control of anything. You can't know what's going to happen. You think you get to create your own reality? But actually, it's true. You create your own reality. The only way that you're able to move forward positively and actually in a true state of self-governance is to know things and not wonder and not guess and not, because everyone has been made to believe that you can't know everything. But meanwhile, you can connect with infinite intelligence, and you can have access to an infinite truth. You can actually operate on knowing, and you don't have to compromise that at all. And I mean, listen, we all came here from different paths. We've shared our paths. None of us have come here lightly. And I know from my journey, I stopped operating, in my opinion, a very long time ago. And I only operate on what I know now. And if I don't know something, I am quiet, and I will just sit and be quiet until I actually do know. I don't talk about anything that I don't know. Like, if I haven't actually been able to stand on it, then I'm not going to talk about it, because I don't have to, and I probably don't want to, and that's just, we all get to choose how much of a risk we want to take in terms of speaking on things that we don't really know. And I generally won't do it at all, because I've been running my business unincorporated for a while, and everything that I say can come back to me in a litigious threat, financially. And so I'm a lot more practiced at it than a lot of people, because I needed to be really careful not to speak something that I couldn't deliver.
Yeah.
And it didn't come to it the same way as what we're trying to do now, but I just find it fascinating that I feel like I'm prepared for that in a different way.
Yeah, and you're bringing up a kind of a nice segue into something that's come to mind with this self-governance topic is, um, you know, thinking about when we have hearsay, right? When we're hearing rumors or gossip, we as American state nationals, being self-governing men and women, we are now held at a higher regard, meaning that we have to do our due diligence. We have to be accountable. We have to be responsible. And we can't rely on the quote unquote experts to constantly feed us what we have to know. It's our responsibility to do that due diligence. And so, and I bring this up really strategically today, because I recently received, actually within the last hour, I received an email from somebody that attends the International Outreach Think Tank, and told me that they were hearing some confusing rumors and gossip about me on one of the Telegram pages that I left a while ago because there was some nefarious business going on there. And I was really happy and just grateful that they brought it to my attention and came to me firsthand to ask me about the rumors that they were hearing. And I was able to say, explain, no, that's not true. And, that channel that you're on is really known for nefarious business. and just a lot of false information. And to me, and I said, for me, that's really when our assemblies are being successful, that's the enemy coming against us, trying to divide, trying to discredit, try to attack your character. And so my advice to him, and I said, I hope, I'm giving advice, but you don't have to take it, but is that when those things come up for me, what I do is, number one, I say, what do I know about this person? What has been their actions already? And does it match this rumor? And how do they show up when I see them on other meetings? And how do they treat others? And so those are the things that I look for when I'm trying to discern if something is true, before I then go to that man or woman and say, hey, I'm confused. I'm hearing this, but can you clear this up? And they clear it up for me. And that's all you can do as far as doing your due diligence. And that's what's expected of us. We can no longer go off of, the tabloids, right? Or the propaganda that's out there. And so, I was really happy and just proud of this person for reaching out and doing their due diligence, because that in of itself is what self-governance is all about.
That's very, very, very true. And we've said that before on this talk on this Tuesday. I would love to add two more things. One, regardless of what you think of Tucker Carlson, I watched his interview with a whistleblower, basically, who used to work as a CIA top level. Anyway, he's a scientist, and so he knew a lot. And as they got to the end of the interview, Tucker was totally shocked about what he learned that the scientists are doing with synthetic biology and synthetic this and that. And basically he said, unless people believe in God and have a higher power, whatever you call that, that they don't have, when they look at what they're doing, and that applies to anyone in our assemblies too. If you don't have that connection to the divine, your creator, so that you can stand in the beauty that you are, because whatever you consider the creator to be, has created you as a reflection of the divine. If they do not have that, there's no positive or negative that an atheist can determine, because they have no source above them, and they happen to be in positions of where ethics, how can you have ethics if you don't have a source for those ethics? And the truth is, in our assemblies, not everyone has come in, they don't come in faith-based. And yes, we're not about a religion, we are a government. But when you talk about self-governance, there has to be something that you're lining up your governance to, or else it's just preferences and what you like or you don't like. And that, that's a hard call. And the second thing I wanted to share, which is my personal story about how I have had to deal with those false accusations, things that are said behind your back that you finally hear, and then you actually know where they're coming from. So I'm just as human as everybody else. I'm connected to the divine. I know I have a spiritual nature. I trust in what comes my way. But you know what? I had judgment. I had strong feelings. So we have what we know, and then we have what we feel. And I had, and in my other community, which is the Ancient Secrets community, we learn how to clear our channels It's an idea. It's not a religion. It's a technology. It's an ancient technology, and it's called Marma Shakti. And so in order for me to move past so much of this, because I was really hurt, I felt very betrayed with people that I really trusted. And once you lose trust, and so it's like I had to do the inner work. And the inner work, I was able to use these marmas. So there's a forgive and forget marma that helps clear those channels so that you can actually emotionally let go of things. And so with doing my own inner work, we all have our own strategies for moving past things, but that was just mine. And it didn't happen in a day or two. It took it took weeks actually to move past that. But that was me doing my self-governance in order to be in the world in a loving way.
Oh, that was so beautifully explained, Deborah.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to elaborate on that a little bit. So, you're speaking about ethics, and I want to define the ethics versus the morals, because we aren't religious. Religion is 100% corporate minded. And so we have to kind of get away from that. And that's tough for a lot of people because we have so many personal beliefs that are tied to those religious practices, and not to mention a lot of our just family styles, our family oh my gosh, what's the word I'm looking for?
Relationships,
Yeah,
connections.
it's our relationships with the rest of our family, and a lot of our it's very nostalgic, right? A lot of this is nostalgic. It goes back generations, and it's something that our folks like try to kind of impose upon us because of grandma or grandpa or
Traditional.
whatever, right? The traditions. So we need to be able to reparent ourselves, number one, and know the difference between the corporate brainwashing and mind control that our families have had to endure for multiple generations. Okay. And then we have to be able to see through and cut through a lot of that stuff. Now, morality is the principle. It's the principle of right and wrong. And it is not, morality is objective. It is not something that they want everyone to believe. The corporatocracy wants people to believe that morality is relative, and it is not. It is 100% objective. The principles of morality are that morality aligns with the truth and immorality aligns with lies, and that is it. There is nothing else about that. And so anyone who shapes their beliefs around what they want to call their morals and they aren't being honest, they don't comprehend this piece of it. Okay. And this is something that we have to choose to redefine and reassess as grown men and women now, learning the truth and learning that we've been lied to, and grieving the fact that we have been lied to about all this stuff. Right. So it's tough. Okay. But this is our responsibility as self-governing, responsible people. Okay. And then there's ethics. Ethics are external rules or like codes of conduct, or, it's a governing behavior. This is interesting because if we're self-governing, we're breaking away from all of that as well. So, the things that they call like medical ethics. Well, we already know that the medical mafia is murdering people, okay?
Right.
So let's just start right there. Then
Okay.
you have the legal ethics. We know they are controlling everyone and only interested in controlling people, at which moment you might just not want to really talk about these ethics because we aren't operating with external rules. That's what
Yeah.
ethics are. They're external rules. We don't do that. We are self-governing. And so you might want to really think about if you ever want to use that again or talk about it. And again, this is tough because it's just like having to relearn not to say good morning when morning is MOUR, or praying, PREY. You're praying upon the people. And all of these things are the word spells and incantations that they have tricked us with. And it's very frustrating And, everybody's like, oh, but you know what I mean. And I'm like, no, because the universe knows what you mean. And universal law is hermetically sealed. So you can't lie about that.
Well, I think when we can agree that we have both good and evil, that can use these sort of things, right? Like our words are very powerful. And so I learned a long time ago that pray, to pray, is not the same as prey, and that if I'm praying for somebody, the way that I pray is going to determine what the outcome is going to be. And if I'm begging and pleading God to do something for me, then I have no faith. I have no faith that it's already been done. And therefore, I'm setting the record that I'm living this victim mode where I've got all these hardships. Sorry. I've got all these hardships that, I'm begging relief for. But we all know that that the Creator created our world so that we could live in abundance and with love and all the high vibrational things. And it's just the lies, deceit, deception that has kept us in this lower vibrational field. So for me, and I know I had this actually come up on the International Outreach Think Tank. Somebody was questioning why we were praying. And, I didn't get into the explanation, but for me, praying is setting the tone for the meeting. And it's not like, oh, dear God, just please do this. So please do that. No, it's God, thank you for giving us the insight to come together tonight and to move this assembly forward, like declaring what it is that we want, and thanking him because it's already been done.
Decreeing, declaring, and proclaiming. And what you're talking about, Tammy, is setting an intention. And you can set the intention by shining light, which we are light beings. And so, there is a lot of this chaos and confusion. People are very, emotionally attached to the pieces and the words. And hey, we don't have to get into it because there's no reason for us to have, like major arguments about any of this stuff. But word spells is a thing. And so we can start to work on a lot of those things on our own, try to find a new way to reconcile it for ourselves. And I mean, it was tough for me too. And I just focus more on the light and the love and the light and the energy and the intention and the decrees. Decrees are so fun, and when we are decreeing and proclaiming and standing on our word as bond, it's pretty powerful even for ourselves. And it helps us to maybe stand in a much more deliberate and intentional and powerful way. So, yeah, I think that you're absolutely right about knowing, why you're doing what you're doing, why you're saying what you're saying, where is it coming from? And again, I still think it's very frustrating that they messed up all our words and they make us feel like we are got to learn how to speak all over again. But you know what? I mean, while we're all becoming, students of the law, just so that we can kind of, get away from man's law, we have to know it, unfortunately, to do that. And so as it is bounded, it must be unbound. We must learn it and know it just so that we can not fall back into that pit again. But I really love Anna's intention to get to the law of one. And, that is really the beginning and the end and the love for self. So ladies, I I feel like a lot of times, in the past few weeks, we've been talking about all the obstacles that we've been facing. We are coming up with some of the solutions that we all, see for that. But I mean, I'd really love to raise our frequency a little bit more here and just focus on, okay, now that we've kind of ironed it out, I think we've talked about it 101 ways between here and there, right? So, like, let's just decree, let's just move forward. What do you think are the top 3 things that we should start focusing on our assemblies in an effort to just lift and change the energy and the intention on our assemblies, so that once it becomes this level, it's so hard for them to try to drag us down. We just bring everybody up. I mean, one of the number one things that I'll just say up front that I felt like that has really helped us on North Carolina a lot is stopping trying to write and building something, instead focusing on the fact that you can't build anything until you know something. So you have to have education. And so we're only talking about the education, only learning, because we don't know anything. We have to learn everything, and we have to start with the ABCs. And it's the ABCs of the law. And so we just, and we can't rush. But no one was interested in investing that time and energy in us the way that Anna has been. And if you watch from the very first podcast episode until now, over 100 episodes, I think the first 100 of them were all, 90 of them were all the same thing over and over. And it's this repetition that we have to overcome, their repetition. And we have to realize that we can't be repeaters. But since we were learning in that way, okay, fine. If that's what we have to do for the minute, let's do that, and then try to roll ourselves over into a new way of receiving. How about that?
And that's scientifically, that's how we're wired and programmed to operate, right? And so I think Anna knows that. And she knows, just like as something is bound, it is unbound, right? So if they bound us by repeating all these things to get us to believe it and showing it to us on the TVs and everywhere you go, I mean, even in the grocery store, all you hear is COVID-19, get your shot, blah, blah, blah. And it's like that, programming and mind control and brainwashing. And it's like, and likewise, she just keeps repeating the information that she wants us to learn. She does it differently, maybe rephrases it differently. Like, I love her articles, and I'm like, oh, now I get that, so she said it differently. It's probably the same stuff, but, and just presenting it in a different way where it's going to click for somebody, in that moment, in the way that she said it at that time. But yeah, I agree. Her blog page is such a wealth of information, and I do a lot of my research. If I come across somebody else's information, I start researching, and then I'm like, oh, let me see what Anna says. And I go back into her blog page. I put a few words in. Sure enough, a whole bunch of words come up there on this, a lot of articles come up on those topics. And so it really makes for a great, research project if you're trying to research on something specific. But and I agree, is that education is key. And so for the first year and a half that I was a part of our assembly, our education, the woman that was running the education committee misunderstood the purpose of the education committee and was focusing on building a new public school for our kids. And
okay, wait. Are you sure she misunderstood it? Because here's my experience is, again, it goes back to, we've been infiltrated and we've been led and misled and then led again and misled again. And now we are realizing that this is in our assemblies and we have to make it stop.
Right. So we've done the correction, and we've created the education committee to focus on education for our members. And
Right.
so we try to make space every General Assembly meeting to do an education piece. And so those are the new changes that we've made. But I would love to hear Debra-Ann's answer as to what do you think, Debra-Ann, we can do to raise our vibration and change the aura, if you would, in our assemblies.
Well, I first of all, I do agree with both of you that education is key. I think part of the issue is people having lots of puzzle pieces, but not stringing them together or fitting them together. But to raise a vibration, I think, Tammy, you hit on it when you talked about what Niti described as a declaration and you described as prayer, but it was actually the law of gratitude because it was the way you phrased it. And I think when you open a meeting, having gratitude is one way. So this is my other community, and I don't think it would translate well to the assembly, but there might be a way it could translate. So when we get together, it's a small group. People say what they appreciate in the other person. That would definitely take a moment or two. And when you're done, everybody feels connected, seen, appreciated, even if there's things they may not agree on. So for me, raising the vibration is the connections and the communication and the heart to heart that each one of the assembly members is able to produce or grow or whatever. Education's important. I have to say, I would not stop building an assembly, like getting people into positions and focus just on education. But it is a key component.
Yeah, because that education, when you're stepping into a position, you're learning on the job. So that in of itself is an education.
But that's what we're doing. So there's nobody stopping building an assembly, but the building of the assembly is just the building of the people. You can't build the assembly without growing the people. All you're doing is growing the people into the positions, which is the building of the assembly. But they're not looking at it. They're not looking at it that way. They're so busy building the chairs, building the seats. They're not building the people. They're not growing the people.
Well, and what comes to mind for me is circling back to that self-governance, right? Because if you're serving in a role on your assembly, you want to serve it in the best possible way, right? You want to be of the best service that you could possibly be for that role. And so what are you doing to improve yourself in that role? Are you attending the meetings? Are you doing the work? Because the other thing is that it's not enough to just go to the meetings. You actually have to do the work. The education is good, like getting the information, but what you do with that information is really the key, because it's not enough to just know it. You have to now do something with it.
But I think that, getting everybody on one accord is a big deal. And the other part of this whole thing is, there was always the excuse, well, there's always new people coming in and messing it up. There's always new people coming in and messing it up. And I'm like, well, no, because if you keep pouring the education over in a specific pattern, then you're always having to go back over a few things and then moving forward. You're always going back over a few things and still moving forward. But we have recordings. Hello. Also, a lot of the new people, hey, go back to the beginning of the recordings and take your time going through all the videos, and then you'll get caught up, because you can do that, and there's no reason you can't.
And you should get caught up. What I love, and I think that this is a requirement to come on to Doug and Christie's, I want to say their Thursday call, is they make a requirement that they have to go in and listen to the recordings of the other meetings before they're allowed to come into that meeting. Like, it's a prerequisite, right? And so I think that that's important. Somebody else, I can't remember who it was, I think it was Michelle Ford actually said that her coordinator at the time when she joined her assembly didn't allow her to actually participate in her assembly until she finished reading that General Assembly handbook. And so, I think that these are good practices to put in place to get people brought up to speed, because otherwise, I see it even sometimes in our assemblies, like new people are coming in and it's almost like they feel lost. And then you can't go back to get them caught up. So, but you have those playbacks so that they can, and I know, I want to say it's Ohio that they have, I think, a series of like 6 different education pieces, and they rotate them. They constantly are rotating them. And I think that that's a great option. And also new member orientation. We do that once a month on our assembly. We make it, they have to RSVP in order to come, because there have been times where my husband and I were traveling and I had this scheduled for Saturday morning and I was committed and I brought my computer. We stopped off on the highway on the way traveling and we pulled off so I could do this new member orientation, and then nobody showed. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm committed, but other people are not. So it's got to be an RSVP. You have
Well, they have to be, like Deborah Brady's saying, like, if you do not thirst for knowledge, then you must remain enslaved. You must remain in bondage.
Yeah.
Those who are not
so
thirsting for knowledge of the truth can just remain in bondage. It's okay. It's not our work to force anybody to do anything. We're not here to make decisions for other people. And this is the other part of it. So when you are pulling your assembly together, when you're growing, the outreach program is actually to rescue as many living men and leave no man behind. That is not, the mission is not recruit them and force them to serve the government, because we have no obligatory duty to do any such thing at all. What we want is for them to know the truth and to be free, and then bye, go be free. We love you. Oh, you want to be here, you want to know more, you want to do something, okay, great. Here is the Rumble channel, and go listen to every single thing, and then after you listen to every single thing, then bring your questions. And so it's not hard, and so, but no one was organizing it. No one here was. And I don't see most people doing that everywhere. And even when you say, okay, well, here you have to do these 3 things, or, oh, you just have to read the General Assembly handbook. I think it's important for everyone to watch your assembly meetings, because they're getting to know the people on your assembly as well. So they can see, oh, they started back here. Oh, look at how different they are now. And then they can find you where you're at, because we are constantly expanding. So we're not trying to be lying or changing our story or changing our mind too much, but we grow and we learn. And just like we're growing and learning, Anna is too, but she's just only 50 years ahead of us. Okay. So, whatever she's just like, oh, I just figured out that we should be using the Army because that's land jurisdiction, not the Navy, because that's her latest new lesson. Okay. And so she is not free of not having to learn and change her mind about things all the time, just like any of us. Right. So, and isn't that fun? Isn't it fun that we're all growing and learning together, and that we have all these people on various levels, finding their way?
Yeah. And there's no shame in not knowing, and no shame in learning. I know, because the de facto has taught us to feel shame about not being on top of it, being right all the time. That there's no shame. And that's just a reprogramming we've got to do for ourselves.
And that shaming, Debra-Ann, has conditioned people to not ask questions.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, all of these things take time for people in your assemblies to be able to come and feel comfortable and know for themselves, okay, I did not get the very best welcome the last time I was here, because I might have done something or whatever, or said something. And okay, let me try again. And, everybody can try to be as welcoming as possible. But remember, whatever you're receiving is your reflection. And most of us don't know what you're receiving because only you do. Only you know that.
Yeah, and just to circle back to this whole topic of self-governance, because we touched upon and spoke mostly about self-governance with ourselves, right? But we didn't get into the organizational self-governance. And I think it's important for people to try to link these two to know, what does that look like showing up as a self-governing body? And that mostly means that everybody is involved in the decision-making process. But if you are a decision maker, you have a responsibility and you're held to account, and that's, I think, a big adjustment for people to make, because we've been spectators in our lives. We've been sitting back and watching, and they keep telling us to do that, right? Sit back on your couch and eat that popcorn and, watch this all play out, because they don't want us to participate. They don't want us to stand in our power. They don't want us to have our own voices and realize, oh, self-governance is me. I get to make these decisions. I get to, figure this out. And so it does come with a responsibility. And I think that I would really love to shift the feeling of responsibility, because I think people have almost like, it feels like a weight on them being responsible. And for me, I don't want to feel weighted by something. I want to feel empowered by that, because now I'm in a position to make a change in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's going to, elevate us and elevate our world.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting you're talking about self-governance for the body, the General Assembly. Mm-hmm. And that's a big part of what the Ombudsman is there for, because people will, the ASNs that are not serving in our assembly, and even ASNs that are serving in our assembly, are going to notice things that are just not quite right. Now, it could be just them having an emotional response to something that is not a problem, but it could be something that needs to be looked at. And you know what? In our committees and in our general assemblies, we all make the decisions together, but those decisions might need to be looked at, right? Mm-hmm. And that's one of the jobs of the Ombudsman. Somebody bringing forward a complaint. If the complaint's valid, then having the General Assembly relook at itself, relook at what it's decided to do. Is it really just and fair? And that too is not shame. There's no shame in that. We are all doing the best we can with what we know, and we're building things that there really is no concrete blueprint for.
Because it's life. We're harmonizing with nature. So when you're harmonizing with nature, then you have to, go with the flow of the stream, go with where the wind blows. You got to kind of be, you have to be pliable in all of these things. But, like going back to the definitions, what is the self-governance for, like, our political, our political autonomy, because now we have corrected our political status. So for a nation or a region, it means having the right to make its own laws and govern its own affairs rather than to be controlled by an outside power. So interestingly, just in this one aspect alone, a lot of times people get stuck in, okay, well, we have to do what they're saying right now because they don't understand this and they're not trying to understand this. And how are we going to make them understand this? And we're like, look, we are the law. It is only our law. They are our employees. They don't have to agree with our law because they have their laws that they are operating under that has nothing to do with our laws. They don't have to recognize our laws and agree with them. We do. And then we have to say to them, well, this is the law of our land. And while you are here, then you have to follow our law. We can't ask them, hey, can you please look at our law? And hey, can you please do what no, you don't do that. You just say, this is our law. And, oh, I think you didn't hear me the first 50,000 times. Let me just say it again, because I know I've been gone for 150 years.
Right.
So here, let me just say it again. I know you might think that it's just me, but no, it's not just me. Also, you're not, okay, let me tell you again. No, this is us. This is us.
Yes.
And, they keep testing it the same way that the toddler tests the mom. Well, maybe mom will let me buy the candy today. Every day, they're going to be like, can I get the candy today? And you're going to be like, no, we said we're not getting the candy when we come. Okay. That's not what we're doing. We make our candy at home. Okay. We're not doing this over here. Okay. And then you leave, then you come back. Can I have the candy? No, we're not doing that. Remember? We're not doing that. So everyone has to think about it that way, because there's a lot of frustration, a lot of folks that are just like, well, they just don't recognize us. Right. They don't, because we haven't been around for a really long time. And when you are imposing new laws to them, it's new, right? So it's a new laws. It's a new idea. It's something, it's not new. It's actually ancient. Okay. But they think it's new. It's okay. It's okay. They haven't had to think about it for a while. And so to them, it's new. So then you have to exercise it. So when we're imposing what they think are new laws, then we have to exercise them and make them common again. And you have to practice it and exercise it. And it's the muscle. It's the leg you weren't using for so long. And it's just pins and needles.
Yeah. Yeah, those muscles are very atrophied. So we have to exercise them and build them up and get them strong again.
I love that perspective of self-governing, because it's talking about standing in what we know is and who we are. And I think about our conversations and the way they've progressed. It's almost like every topic is a diamond, and every facet has a different view, right? And I love that, Niti. Thank you.
Yeah, that was adorable.
I mean, we are a diamond in the rough, and as we begin to shine it, then there's it's a multifaceted diamond, and it has all these facets, and it makes the clarity as we're walking in now from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. Aquarius is the age of clarity. It is all truth and clarity. So, that brings us also back to, the internal controls of this self-governance. It involves, the community, the organization, managing its own resources. We've never been able to manage our own resources. So I'm so proud of Africa for making their own gold coin. A lot of talk right now, a lot of this global gossip about, oh my God, they made their own coin and they're not promoting our gold. I mean, right. They should have done their own thing. I'm so excited that they did it. And we want, I just want everyone to know that, we're the real Americans. Okay. And we have been impersonated by the U.S. Corporation, guised as the Americans. And we want Ibrahim Traore and all the leaders on Africa and all these other very many nations that are standing against the thoughtless murder on Israel, or it's Palestine, and all of these innocent people are being murdered. And right now they're out there. Yesterday was Diwali, which is an Indian, the celebration of lights. But what Diwali is about is the battles that were won where evil was defeated by good. And, but that was so many thousands of years ago. And so even Anna has, said, we're in this, battle again. They won it before. We don't have the same weapons that they had at that time, but we have enough of what we need. And it is the mind. This is a mental, emotional, spiritual battle. And we still have our mind, and we still have the power of our thoughts. And so it is really important for us to, number one, call out and object to this horrific murder. And I mean, I'm so impressed and excited about how Ibrahim Traore, he called them out when they said that this is a ceasefire. He said, no, it's not. This is a reload. And he's educating everyone about how this is a lie and how we shouldn't fall for it. And this isn't the time to celebrate. This is the time for us to make our minds more formidable. We need to forge our minds in the fire and know that we are rebuking all evil from this galaxy now. And so, no, we're not falling for your tricks, because they just had their trick or treat. We're not doing tricks. And we can see you. We see you. And what we need, Ibrahim and all the other nations to know is that we stand against this genocide. The real Americans here, we are speaking. We are against it. We are not for it. Right. And please recognize us for who we are, and know that we have also been, victims of an impersonation, and we were usurped.
Yep. Yeah, no, the work that he's doing, the courage that he has, it's really motivating, honestly, and inspiring to see him step into that role. And he's building alliances with the people in Africa, and basically kicking out the same people that are here in our country that have usurped our country are doing it there. So we support Traore. And, we just love his courage and, his manlyhood, honestly, because we need more men like him.
Yes,
we really do.
We do. And we're calling all men. I'm calling all men all the time. I'm calling all men. And he is exemplifying this self-governance. He says, you say that you expect me to support this and celebrate this ceasefire, and you're shocked when I say no. I see it for what it is. And everyone says, well, what about your political, views? What about how this will be received? He says, well, I stand on the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And so do we. And it isn't popular, and it isn't pretty, and it isn't nice. And he's calling everyone out. He says, you think this is, whatever. He goes, no. He goes, my men have gone, and we have seen, and they are rebuilding, and they are reloading. And let me explain to you how this works. This is modern day warfare.
Right. And I think that Americans need to recognize, Niti, since we're on this topic, that the Army and Navy and whatever military that is supposed to be American, right, do not have the delegated authority to be over in another country trying to, they have the American people believing that they're there to protect our freedoms. and it's like, no,
we're not the ones who got attacked by anybody, and we're not mad at the Palestinians or whoever they're trying to bomb over there.
And also we only gave them delegated authority to protect our land
and protect our ships on the high seas and inland waterways, and they're abusing that delegated authority, and they have usurped our men on the land, and they have converted our land by dry docking their ships on our land. And Anna has explained this in her latest articles. How are they getting away with it?
Yep.
How are they doing this? So we implore you, Traore, and everyone, to read Anna's articles and see how she has explained this great fraud, and know the truth between us and them. And we are exercising our voices, and we are objecting to the world now. I am definitely speaking and objecting. I object on behalf of all living women and men that we do not agree. And we are not celebrating this ceasefire, and we are not amused, and we are not entertained, and we rebuke all the evil, and we command you to leave this galaxy now.
Right.
This is all part of self-governance, friends.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking about. To
Well,
be able to know who you are
Mhm.
and what it is that you stand for, and then for you to make that decision and to stand on it and use your voice. How many people are like, well, I wanted to say something, but you didn't give me a chance to speak in the meeting, and I mean, maybe the meeting ran out. Okay, we didn't maybe know that you wanted to say something. Maybe you did raise your hand and we missed it. Sometimes, you're running a meeting and things happen, and there's a whole bunch of people and a lot of chaos, but sometimes the meeting ends because you run out of time. You know what, friends? We're not running out of time. If there's something that you want us to talk about here on Tuesdays, then please tell us, because we are asking you to let us know what you feel that you would like for us to dissect for you, and we will. Because we're done with all evil and we're bringing it all together, and we want all of our nations to come together. And we must all share this information with each other and with all of you. And we're shining a light on all the evil, because the only way to clean the house is to turn the lights on.
Yep. And then we get to watch the cockroaches and the rats scatter. They go run and hide. And I think that's one of the reasons why, some of us who are on these platforms start to get attacked. It's not a surprise, Debra-Ann, when you started to do the international outreach, or not outreach, sorry, ombudsman, think tank meetings, that was around the time that you, then started getting attacked. And it was, the same for me when I started the American State Assemblies podcast. It was shortly thereafter. And so, I think
me too.
I think when you get onto a platform and you're trying to get work done or spread the word, or, for me, I was introducing the world to all of our state assemblies. And so I think that's part of the reason why there's rumors going on, because they're trying to discredit, my credibility, and, try to scare people away from having any affiliation. So, it's not a surprise. It doesn't scare me, because like you said, Niti, we stand in truth. And when you can stand in truth and you're honorable and integral, come at me with whatever accusations you want, because, I stand on the truth and you stand on lies. So
it's interesting. Dr. Hawkins talks about where there's truth, there's peace. And falsehood always results in war or conflict.
Yep.
And then the other thing he let us know was that about 78% of the population on the planet, specifically in the United States, 78% have no desire for peace. So
they love the drama and the theater, don't they?
Oh,
they
yeah.
do love the drama and the theater. And there are always those who will, no matter who is in any role that is perceived as authoritative. And we all know, at least the three of us know, that there's no such thing on the assembly. We all work together. But the mind washing and the mind control, the perceived people that are in authority will always be attacked by someone, because they will always hate whoever that is in that position. It doesn't matter who's in the position.
Right.
And so as long as we're equipped with that, with knowing that, it's easy to dismiss some of the things that are happening. Yeah.
Right. And I think it's also an invitation, right? If there is any confusion or, question about somebody's character, just reach out to them.
Man.
Yeah, go ahead, Niti.
Okay, so Anna told us to be studying the book, The End of All Evil. And it's my favorite book now. And in chapter 3, it says, you were born to this world with sovereignty over your mind and over your life. Your abilities to think, to feel, to learn, and to love are your liberty. In you, these capacities are infinite, and you have infinite worth, right? We've said this before. But evil seeks to destroy your liberty, and it seeks to be in authority over you. It does not want you to have liberty. Evil seeks to destroy you so that it can use you as a puppet. I love what Juan's saying here, where he feels like we need more community-based grassroots presentations like this. And so I agree. Everybody everywhere, because they try to shadow ban all of my channels have always been shadow banned. Anything that is related to the truth, then, because the de facto owns the internet, they get to do whatever they want and shadow ban whatever they want.
Yep.
And so we have to come together, and we have to operate under this one love. We have to come together and know that it is the law of one. We have to know that if they're harming one of us, they're harming all of us. And we just have to start by knowing that you yourself were born worthy beyond belief. You are the intrinsic value. We're trying to tell you that you have to love yourself, because we can't love you until you love you. That's why my t-shirt says, I don't care, on the front of it, and on the back of it, it says, there is great love here for you, because I can't love you. I can't care about you if you don't care about you. And 99% of at least the Americans, because the American experiment, say, I don't care. I don't care what I eat. I don't care what I wear. I don't care, blah, blah, blah. I'm easy, That's why they just eat Doritos, or they drink, Bang drinks, or whatever this crap is in a poison can. Or they actually drink water that says that it's evil water or whatever. And then they, at these concerts, they make these kids who want to just go enjoy some music only drink this evil water, because they have decided that they won't allow anyone to sell water unless it's this evil in a can water. And so I think that it's important for all of us to raise our standard. Have a standard. How about that? How about have a standard? Because they told you not to have a standard, because you need to be,
you need to be flexible, and you need to blend in with society, and you need
don't
to
be so stuck up.
Look normal.
Yeah, don't be so uppity. Oh, you so bougie. Yeah, we're bougie. That's right.
When I lived in Texas, it was interesting. There was like a mom's Yahoo chat group. It was like before like Telegram and Signal, but I had to laugh because there was a mom talking about, organic food, right? And one lady said, oh, that's just fancy food that the grocery stores make you pay more money for. And I'm like, wow, we've got some learning to do here. Like it's really brainwashing, and indoctrination. And if you think about it, if you watch the TV shows and the movies, and there was a specific show I remember when a mom got cancer, and the dad was like, here, drink this green drink or whatever. And she was like, ooh, and like, I can't do this. But then she's going for chemotherapy and radiation, and so they just make eating healthy look so, unpopular and, dreadful. And these are part of the brainwashing and the indoctrination that they've done to our country. And so, it's funny now that you could sit there and you could point it out, when I don't watch much TV, but if I do, I can point it out. My kids hate it if they're watching something and I'm like, oh yeah, look at that. And I'm like, moderating.
You're pointing out all the notices. My kids can't stand it either.
And they're like,
oh, look, they've noticed us about that now.
Yes. Yeah. And they're like, Mom, can you just be quiet, please? I don't need you, in the background talking. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Can't help myself.
Sorry, not sorry. We're gonna keep just, my kids don't ever stop hearing it either, Tammy. And we're not gonna shut up. And no, they are gonna keep hearing it. And one day when they are, on their own out there doing whatever they're doing, for whatever it is that they're working on, one day they're going to hear our voice ringing in their mind, and they're going to go, oh my God, my mom tried to tell me. She knew all this. Because we all do that all the time, right?
Yes. Yes.
All right, ladies, we have gone well past the hour. I think this has been a great conversation. Is there something that you would like to wrap up with? Why don't we go around the table and just close with, I know all of us, I really want to respect all our time because we have things we're doing. So I want you to continue to join me as often as you can on Tuesdays. So Debra-Ann, why don't we start with you and just go around the table?
Well, I don't usually have anything planned. So the only thing that's in my mind and heart right now is chuckling at what we say. I have two young adults, 25 and 23. And I hear that, Mom, be quiet. Because we're trying to, but do you guys, yeah, okay, I'll be quiet. And I think that just made my heart feel really light because I know I'm not alone. That's all I have to say today.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on that, Debra-Ann. It is such a pleasure to meet here with you ladies once a week. And, as long as I can, I'll be here. And I look forward to seeing what other people would like for us to discuss on here. I'm really enjoying watching the chat and seeing people's comments. And Juan, I love your energy. I love what you bring to the chat and in any of our meetings that I see you, along with Deborah Brady. I don't know her, but it's been a pleasure to read her comments. But I will say, that I'm not going to shut up either. Every opportunity I get to, drop a breadcrumb, I'm going to do it and plant a seed. Is when I'm going to keep doing that. And I have been told that I'm a bit much for some people. So I've had to learn sometimes how to reel it in a little bit. I usually get a kick under the table or a pinching on my knee or something if I've gone a little too far. So, but nonetheless, we just keep pushing forward. And I just encourage everybody to be a lifelong student, right? Because we've got so much to learn. And clearly we're just hitting the tip of the iceberg. We're not even near all the information that we need to have, but we're getting there. And as long as we're chipping away at it, we will get there, in time to be the self-governing body on each of our states. And I really look forward to seeing that in our lifetime anyway. And that's really it. That's all I have. And Niti, thank you for hosting this podcast and inviting us to be a part of it with you. I've enjoyed it. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate both of you, and every time that we all can get together and do this, it means a lot. I love the various pathways that and the perspectives that we bring and that we share, and I hope that is helping everyone. I also feel like I want to encourage everyone to continue to support Anna and the Federation. We need to be especially helping them with as much funding as we can right now. It feels like they're coming to a head, and all of our solutions are going to be released shortly because they can't keep running and hiding, and they're running out of corners because the light has been shined. So
there's a lot more people shining that light.
Yes. And now we're just going to keep bringing it more and more powerfully. So we have a request to bring more information about action-based teamwork. So we can maybe think about that this week, ladies. And anything that anyone else wants us to cover, please bring it forward. And we are open and ready and interested in hearing all of whatever it is that you guys can bring. And we will see you next Tuesday, but I'm really excited. Anna's supposed to be coming back this Thursday. Everyone join me here at 7 p.m. And also Greg says that he wants to come back that day. He's still pretty tender, and so we'll give him some grace. But I'm looking very forward to having everybody back on the show this Thursday. And I'll look for everyone there. All right. Thank you.